Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Maple Grove Script Reading Podcast. Last time we finished out Job chapter 27, and Job was giving his friends the lesson that he had promised, and it was a description of what the wicked are ultimately going to inherit. And what they are going to inherit are things like this: children who die by the sword, wealth that ends up with the righteous, a house that's built like a moth's cocoon, that's temporary by design. And then you've got the storm. You've got terrors rising like floodwater, the east wind sweeping the wicked man out of his place entirely, the wind itself clapping and hissing in contempt. It's a dark picture, and it came from Job, not his friends. The irony being that the friends had spent 3 cycles of speeches using exactly that kind of description as a pressure tactic against Job. And Job turns around and demonstrates he knew the material probably a little bit better than they did. He just didn't apply it the way that they had. So today we're going to get into chapter 28, and it kind of shifts how we're looking at this book. Because all the arguments, the accusations, the defenses, the sarcasm, all of that pauses for a minute. And what we get instead is this poem. It's a careful, sustained meditation on just one question. And it's found in verse 12 of chapter 28. Where is wisdom found? The first half of the chapter sets up the question by looking at what human beings can find when they really try. So let me read through that. Chapter 28, verses 1 through 11. There's a mine for silver in a place where gold is refined. Iron is taken from the earth, and copper is smelted from ore. Mortals put an end to the darkness. They search out the farthest recesses for ore in the blackest darkness. Far from human dwellings, they cut a shaft in places untouched by human feet. Far from other people, they dangle and sway. The earth from which food comes is transformed below as by fire. Lapis lazuli comes from its rocks, and its dust contains nuggets of gold. No bird of prey knows that hidden path. No falcon's eye has seen it. Proud beasts do not set foot on it. No lion prowls there. People assault the flinty rock with their hands and lay bare the roots of the mountains. They tunnel through the rock. Their eyes see all its treasures. They search the sources of the rivers and bring hidden things to light. So before we get into what the poem says, it's worth saying something about the fact that it's here at all. You know, we've been in this dialogue, Job and his 3 friends, accusation, defense, argument, counter-argument, for 27 chapters. The tone has ranged from a formal theological debate to a little bit more open contempt. And it's been kind of an exhausting discourse. But then Job 28 opens and everything changes. Like the whole atmosphere of it changes. Because the poem's not arguing, it's not accusing or defending, it's just observing. It stands back from all the heat of all the previous chapters and looks at something. And in this case, it's the remarkable human enterprise of mining. And it looks at it with what I could probably only describe as appreciative attention. So if you've been reading through Job and you get to chapter 28, it almost feels like you're stepping outside after a long, intense meeting. The air is just different. Some commentators treat this chapter as an interlude composed by the narrator, inserting into the dialogue as a kind of meditation. Others, and I think this reading probably makes sense, see it as Job himself speaking during a quiet moment after the friends have gone silent. Either way, the poem's going to arrive at exactly the right moment in the book. The formal debate has fallen apart. There's no more counter speeches. And instead of Job continuing to argue, he does something unexpected. He thinks out loud about what the whole dispute has really been about. Not the specific charges, not who has more rhetorical ammunition. The deeper question underneath all of it: where does genuine understanding actually come from? This matters for how we read what's coming. The poem isn't a detour. It's preparing the ground for the question that closes the first half of the chapter and then echoes through the second. Where can wisdom be found? And the mining imagery isn't incidental to that question. It's the point of comparison. If wisdom could be extracted from the earth by human effort and ingenuity, the miner would find it because the miner goes everywhere. So the poem opens with a catalog of what's in the ground. You got silver, gold, iron, and copper. These opening lines are moving quickly, just naming what exists and where it comes from. So silver is mined, gold is refined, iron is extracted from the earth, copper is smelted from the rock. It's all pretty simple. It's all factual. But the catalog sets up something important. These things are hidden. Like they're not sitting on the surface. They exist underground, in the dark, and inaccessible without deliberate effort. Job then says, mortals put an end to the darkness. They search out the farthest recesses for ore in the blackest darkness. So that phrase, that mortals put an end to the darkness, that's something, right? Like the miner descends into places that have never been lit and carries light into them. It's absolute darkness, the kind that exists in solid rock deep in the earth, and it gets interrupted by a human being with a lamp. It's a remarkable image of human capability. Like we go into the dark and we make it navigatable. He continues, far from human dwellings, they cut a shaft in places untouched by human feet. Far from other people, they dangle and sway. So it's a picture of a miner working alone, suspended far below the surface in places that nobody else has walked. The word picture's almost vertigo-inducing, right? You're dangling, you're swaying in a shaft cut into a rock far from any other human presence. And underneath them, the earth is transformed, verse 5, as if by fire. Lapis lazuli comes from the rocks. Gold dust is scattered through it. The earth looks ordinary from above, but from below, it's pretty extraordinary. Keeps going by saying that no bird of prey knows that hidden path. No falcon's eye has seen it. Proud beasts have not set foot on it. No lion is ever proud there. And this is where the poem gets kind of fun, because Job is describing what animals can and can't perceive. The falcon has the sharpest eyes in the natural world. In certain conditions, bird can see from a mile away, right? Lions range vast territories, sniffing out everything in their domain. These are creatures of remarkable sensory capability. They're moving through the world with a precision that most of us don't have. And yet, the falcon's eye has never seen the path that the miner walks. And no lion has ever prowled those tunnels. No proud beast, however well equipped for survival above ground, has set foot in those shafts. You know, you think about nature documentaries, the ones that follow all the apex predators through a landscape. You got the eagle scanning from the altitude. You got the lion moving through the savannah. And the camera gives you this sweeping sense that these animals know their terrain completely. And then the poem pulls the lens underground and says, you know what, there's an entire world beneath the surface that even the most capable animals in creation have never accessed. So the miner has gone where no creature naturally goes. We continue in the passage where it says, people assault the flinty rock with their hands and lay bare the roots of the mountains. They tunnel through the rock. Their eyes see all its treasures. They search the sources of the rivers and bring hidden things to light. So the last movement of this section describes what the miner actually does with all this capability. He doesn't just survive underground, but he's transforming it. He cuts through flint with his hands. He finds where mountains are rooted. He tunnels. He searches the sources of rivers. And then you got that closing phrase, he brings hidden things to light. That's the verb at the end of this whole section. After all the description of the miner's extraordinary reach, deeper than birds fly, beneath where the lions walk, into absolute darkness, dangling alone in shafts cut in places that no human foot has touched, the thing that gets named as the outcome is bringing hidden things to light. That phrase is doing some work for this poem. The miner's whole enterprise is about finding what's concealed and making it accessible. Silver and gold and lapis lazuli exist in the rock. They're just hidden from ordinary view. The miner's job is to go where they are and extract them. And he succeeds. He does bring hidden things to light. And that's the testimony of verses 1 through 11. That's when human beings are sufficiently motivated and skilled, they can find what the earth conceals. which is exactly why verse 12 lands the way it does. And we'll get to that next time. If wisdom were the kind of thing that could be found by going deeper and harder and further into the physical world, then that miner would find it. He goes everywhere anyone goes. He does what no animal can do. He carries light into places that have never been lit. He brings hidden things to light. And in the next section of the poem, the question will be, what about wisdom? Has the miner found that too? So next time we'll keep going in Job 28, and we'll see the question about wisdom, the places where it's not, and then where it finally is. Hope you have a great day, and we'll talk again soon. God bless.